Welcome back to the Main Street Restorer series. We are on episode 6, and we're getting a little personal with today's episode, which I always
Uh-oh.
enjoy. I know. I love getting into other people's business and talking about things. So, Gokul, you have been on the side of selling a business. You had a pool business that you have sold somewhat recently. And from that, you have kind of created like a book or some documents about the 7 emotions that people go through in selling, the 7 emotions that you went through. So I'm going to toss it right over to you to tell a little bit about of the background, like tell a little bit about the business and what you did, how long you had it, the size, like those kind of things before we jump into the emotions.
Yeah. So it was a pool construction business here in Florida, and yeah, it had very much like a restoration business. We were in 1,500 homes, 2,000 homes a year.
A lot.
Had 11 trucks, warehouse employees, front office, technicians, production managers, the whole 9 yards.
Yep. Yep.
And a lot of
Still
people
under.
don't know that, right? I mean, a lot of people don't know. I buy, build, and used to sell companies, and I'm slowing down now, but yeah, I used to do a lot of that before. So, when I talk to owners, it's not like we're a finance firm now, but I truly understand what they're going through. I've been there.
I love that you say that you're slowing down. Are you really, though? You're just finding other ways to be busy. So
I
I
like
don't
to
think
convince
slowing down
myself
is the right term.
that
The whole point of this episode is so people understand like the relatability here that, most people in the industry that you work with, they've been in the restorer's shoes in some way, shape, or form. And so you're no different. So, okay, let's talk through the 7 emotions. Go for it.
so when I went through this process selling my own company, I actually documented it, right? I started documenting because I thought, okay, if I can document it, it would help a lot of my clients on my brokerage side, right? Because at that point I was running 2 or 3 different companies. And I thought, oh, this would be just a really fantastic way to do it. And I documented it, and we wrote an article on it with CNR, right? I mean, I wrote one, what, 2 years ago, a year
Mhm.
ago? And it was like one of the highly read articles of the
Mhm.
year.
Yep.
So that wasn't the intention. The intention was really uh, to go inside my emotions and kind of what I'm feeling, as I get through the process. Because everyone talks about climbing a hill and breaking a wall and all that, and I get it.
Yeah.
But as owners, I think the reality is quite different.
Mhm.
I'm not running over any mountains, even if I want to. It's a, it's a, it's you either act according to a strategy or according to your emotions, and acting according to a strategy is better. And so I just started jotting all of it down, and that's what these 7 emotions of selling is, right? So I've got some notes here that I took, and so let's go through that,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
I bought this company. I think I owned it for 6 years, I believe, or something like that. And the very first when I started, what had happened was the brokerage business was growing, and this pool construction business was growing, and something had to give, right?
Mhm.
And so the first thought, that came to my mind is, okay, you know, maybe I should take it to market. And I sat with that thought and that emotion, a lot of guilt, because I was sitting there in staff meetings. I would talk to my technicians. A lot of them had become, I won't say friends, but you get to know your team,
Yeah.
and kind of becomes like the second family.
Yep.
So there's a lot of guilt that comes initially.
Hmm.
If you really sit with that thought in your mind and you think through it, I think, like, if you're ready to exit, you should feel more guilty about not handing the business to a new buyer so your employees can have better opportunities. I think a lot of owners like to just sit there with
Yeah.
this first step, and they don't get off to the races or get off the starting blocks,
Yeah.
because of this guilt. And the more I talk through it, the more it kind of helped me focus on, hey, if I run the same company for the next 10 years as is, my life is not going to change much.
Hmm.
But I'm not giving any opportunity for my employees. So yeah, it may be temporarily a little painful, but in the long term, it was better. right? First
Uh-huh.
emotion. So I got over that, and then I called a friend of mine, and I said, okay, well, let's call him Jim. And I said, Jim, I said, hey, I want to get this out of the market. Let's go. So we got over it, and again, the next 90 days was tough. You're sitting in the staff meetings. You got the business ready for sale. You can't tell anybody, so you feel like you're kind of leading these two lives.
Mm-hmm.
it, 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 it pulls you in different directions for sure. And any founder that tells you it doesn't, uh, I don't think is thinking about this a lot. I mean, every founder, I mean, it wrecks them when I talk to them, to do it. Um, so anyway, we got over that, and we said, okay, let's take the business online. Let's get it out there. So we got it out there. We start talking to a few buyers, and then comes anger. Like every buyer's asked me the same dang question. I'm
Uh,
like,
okay. You're like, okay,
so
maybe I changed my
yeah.
mind. I take it back.
And what they're doing is they're questioning how I'm running the business, right?
Mhm.
Hey, why did you do this? Why did you not do that? Why did you do that? So, I'm sitting there and, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like those are those meetings.
Mhm.
So we talked to, 6, 7 buyers or so, and we got an offer, and every buyer you talk to, even though I'm in the business of helping people, when it's your own, it's slightly different, right? You sit there and you're like, okay, when am I going to get this offer? What is this going to be? So you start thinking about all these things in your mind, and do I pay off this? Do I pay off that? How much am I going to have remaining? And this is what all my owners today talk about. It's
Mhm.
all the same. It's the same thought, the same feelings. Then you look at, when we get an offer on the business, uh, now that I am 4 years removed from it, or 3 years removed from it, it was a really good offer. But at that time when you get it, it's emotional because no buyer is ever going to, or as a founder of the business, you always think your business is worth more than what the market value is most of
Yes.
the time, you
Yes.
know.
Yep.
So luckily we got it, and the thing that helped me go through that, that uncertainty, am I getting the best offer in the marketplace or not?
Yep.
Just because I did this for a living, I had made notes of what was the most important thing. So if there's 10 things in an offer, I pick 5 of my non-negotiables. And
Hmm.
luckily the offer got through. Okay.
Yep.
And I said the other 5 I compromised on. And I kind of that's the way you get through. You're not going to get all 10. Okay. If
Yep.
10 things are important, you're going to just make a list of 3 or 4, 5 most important things. And if it's there, it's probably a good offer. Then you get into the root canal phase of it, is what I wrote in my diary, right? Which is the due diligence. I'd rather go get a root canal than go through due diligence, but that's okay. All right. They're going to check your business inside and out, and the best strategy that I used on that is I just got my CPA and my bookkeeper in front of this, and I said, okay, go give this buyer everything that they need. Right? I think a lot of the mistakes that people make is trying to do it on their own. And I think you really need help in this space. So we got through it, get to the closing table. Um, I'm sitting there at the attorney's office, you know, and the closing calls are very blasé. There's no rainbows and unicorns, okay, at the closing call. It pretty much goes like one attorney goes, hey, you ready with all the documents? And the other attorney goes, yes, I'm ready. Then this guy goes, I authorize you to release it. The other guy goes, I authorize you to release it. And then both go, congratulations. That's pretty much how a closing call goes. Okay.
That's kind of
it's,
sad.
it's like 3 minutes, and then we got through the closing. Again, I call it no rainbows and unicorns because it hasn't registered in your mind yet. At least it didn't for me. We left the attorney's office, and I think we went and grabbed lunch, and that was it. And then I went back to work. And then came a very stressful. That night was very, the 6th emotion. I call it the sleepless night, because the next day I had to go inform the team.
Uh-huh.
And that was gut wrenching. Okay. All these thoughts going in your head, like, how are they going to react? Am I betraying them? So, sleepless night. We went the next morning. I got the whole team together and I said, hey, team, look, I sold the company, got a great owner who's going to take it to new heights. And this is a really, really important lesson, right? Of course, there were tears. You get used to people,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, So there was a little bit of a shock for about 15 minutes. And then the new buyer got up and spoke about his vision for the company, how they want to move this forward, and what kind of opportunities are there. And what I realized is once the employees know that the new person wants to grow the business and there's opportunities, the
Mhm.
transition and all these fears I had in my sleepless night, 99.99% of them were unfounded. None of that happened. Nobody laughed. Nobody got mad. Nobody walked out, or cursed me out. Or, yes, they're like, hey, I wish you could have told me earlier. And I said, I'm sorry, I couldn't. I
Yeah.
explained the process to them. But then when the new buyer came in and said their vision to the company, they understood it. And almost towards the end of the day, they were excited about the new vision and there was a sense of energy there, right? So everything that I think as an owner and as a seller that you fear or I did, none of it came true. Everybody stayed.
That was one of my questions. You answered one of my questions of like
Everybody
what did you
stayed.
think was going to happen and didn't. Okay.
And for me personally, at the end of the week, they were getting along with the new owner. They had a new business plan they were working on. They were coming up with ideas and it kind of hurt my ego a little bit. They kind of moved on so quickly, but it happens quite a lot. What we think doesn't really come true, if that makes any sense,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yep.
so you do your 30-day training like I did, and once the training was over, I said, okay, this is my last day. Do you need anything? Yeah, anytime you want something, call me. I mean, like I still talk to the buyer, like we're still friends like years later, and that's so when that last day of training finished, went home where I didn't have to come back to the business the next day. That's when it hit me. That's the reality day, is what I call it, my seventh emotion. Once
Reality
the
day.
transition was over, and that's when it hit me. The next morning, I got up and I'd be just like our restorers. They have whip meetings at 7 or 7:30 in the morning. I'd be there 7 in the morning every day,
Mhm.
doing this. Uh, and that's when it hit me, and I said, "Ah, oh, I actually sold."
Now what? Yes.
And then what do you do with your free time after that? So, one of the things I learned from that is, I mean, I had a growing business to go to, so I didn't have a lot of time to relax. But if you didn't have something to go to, I think during the transition phase, I think one of the lessons I learned that I would do differently if I was going to retire or something like that is to really make sure that you have something to go to, like a hobby or a
Oh yeah.
volunteer church, or you have something to go to. I think it helps a lot. So that's my journey.
I love it. Okay. So
That's
you did.
inside, inside the head and the heart of someone trying to sell a business that they care about and a team that they care about. And how do you make these transitions? I think out there, there's a lot of this like, oh, build and sell, and it becomes very
Mhm.
clinical. But I think my reality when I talk to owners and founders every day, it's quite different. It's all of these emotions that are intense, and they're intense because you care about the business and you care about the employees and you want them to succeed. And that but you get through it and it's fine. They're doubled in size now, so yeah.
So you
If you
talked
find the
about
right buyer, it's perfect. It's
yes.
just a win-win-win for everybody.
You talked about thinking that people were going to be mad. You talked about the things that you expected that didn't happen. Was there one thing that did happen that totally surprised you during the entire process?
You know how quickly our team understood it.
Hmm. And the ick there, like you said, there had to have been a little ick at just a little bit of like, wow, they're like they're transitioning with this way easier than I thought. Like, what about me over here?
Yeah,
But there's
yeah. If
also
I'm
the,
going to tell you the one thing is, yeah, they just said, okay, if that's where you're going with it, we appreciate it, we thank you, and I mean, they were grateful, there were tears. I mean, it was a moment, but they totally understood it. So all those fears I had the night before, like 99.9%, it was just all in my head.
if you're a restorer listening to this, all of the emotions that you're feeling are completely normal and you are not alone in the process.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been through it. I go through every single client of mine,
Yep.
and you want that. That's what makes us start a business. I think there's this false rhetoric out there, that owners are heartless and they're money hungry and all these other, and some of it may be true, but they're probably a small minority. I think most owners have great pleasure in taking care of their employees and get great satisfaction out of taking care of their customers and giving employees advancement chances. And that's what I see. I see a much more uh, heartfelt owners in what I do than what
Yeah.
the common public perception is.
Yes.
And many of them are great friends of mine to this day.
Yep. I agree with that. So you're half broker, half therapist, I think is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
but I think one of the things, the final thought I want to leave you with this is, I think if you're running a company that's stagnant and you may be good, but I think what helped me a lot is to really think about, okay, if I'm not going full speed on this business and I don't have the energy or the intention of doing it,
Hmm.
you're really starting to hurt the people that you care about. And so you want to step out and let someone else get in there and give them, where a technician could become a team leader and a team leader could become a superintendent and, so on and so forth. You want to give them the opportunity. And that thought was probably my anchoring thought, and that's the real part of it. I mean, they've literally doubled in revenue in the last 3 years, and people that I've hired as technicians are now superintendents in that company. So it's wonderful to see.
Yes. Okay, Gokul. Well, thank you for sharing your story. And you can
Yeah,
find
it's personal. I usually don't get this way, but hopefully I did fine.
you did great. And it's really the personal stuff I've found that resonates the most. Those are the podcasts that I enjoy doing the most when people get really personal and share their stories and their experiences. It helps to know you're not alone, right? Because business owners often feel alone. It's lonely at the top, as they say. So to know that you're not alone is very helpful in and of itself.
Yeah, you know that you're not alone, and everybody feels this, and it comes out well in the end. I think that's really what it is, And uh, I don't know, we've done 300, 400, 500 transactions. I don't know, every year it goes higher, but quite a lot over the years. And I can tell you this: there's not a single owner that has sold a company and came back to me and said, "Buy me another one. I miss it." It's never happened. True story. It's never happened. I'm going on my 18th year. It's never happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, I appreciate it. I think this has been a great series. I think I wanted to do this with you because I think, the owner with 3 million, 4 million in revenue, they need support, they need education, they need strategies that the big guys are using. They need to know these things. It's not like the bigger guys have higher IQs or lower IQs or any of it. It's just learning how to do certain few things, and you can grow a really healthy business. So hopefully we've achieved it, and we'll continue to do it.
Yep.
Most of our industry is founder-led companies, and so we'll continue to talk to them.
Love it. All right. Well, Gokul,
Talk
this
with
has
them.
been a
Yeah.
super fun series. There's more coming in 2025, potentially under different names, but there's more to come. So stay tuned for everybody who's listening. Gokul and I are not done here. We've been doing videos now for 3 years
Oh,
at
wow.
least together. So a while. So stay tuned. There's more coming. You can find all this content on CNR's website, on our YouTube, on your favorite podcast platform, on the RBA website, wherever you go, there's going to be content everywhere. So, congrats to everyone who's listening to this, who made it through the series and made it through 2024. I've branded this as an interesting year because I don't know what else to call it other than it's been a really interesting year and how claims and everything have gone. So Gokul, thank you for everything. And I look forward to seeing you more in 2025.
Great. Thanks, Michelle.